Greetings everyone. Today we're gonna look at the builds I came up with that absolutely wrecks Steel Path and can even go further. It's basically an interaction between the force procs from different weapons like Dark Sword and Nezha Prime's Divine Retribution. Let's look at the build for a second. This is a slam build with range imbuement from Helmint. Basically we're running Mire for slam, we have a stretch for ability range, we have ability strength, primed claw for the purple Tau shards, equilibrium because we need a lot of energy on this build, rolling guard for different situations where you get nullified, and the star of the show, Divine Retribution. This augment is probably the best augment in the game right now, and I'll show you why in a second. For the arcanes we have Arcane Fury for more melee damage on critical hit. We always critical hit, so there's a big chance we get a melee damage. And multi-augmented, so we can scale our Wrathful Advance, which is our Helmint choice. We're running a build that wants as much base damage, status damage, and initial combo as possible. The core of the build is Arcane Melee Afflictions, which says enemies affected by status effects gain 6 additional stacks when they're knocked down or flung by melee attacks. This arcane will always trigger because Dark Sword has a forced impact on slam attack status effect. It also has a toxin on slam attack for status effect, which means instead of 1 toxin proc, you'll get 7 every time you slam someone. Now you can see the synergy with Divine Retribution. Every time you slam a target that's speared, that status effect will propagate to every single speared target. What does that mean? I'll show you in a second. But just for the giggles, we're not gonna use the full build, we're gonna use the test build. That was a 500k toxin proc on every single one of them, and I'm only slamming this one. The more you slam, the more sets get applied and the faster they die. Now, let's talk about the shard options. The Archon Shards choice is pretty simple and straightforward. Since we're not running any critical damage mods, we want to get that from the shards. So have 4 shards with critical damage. However, this build is very energy hungry, so if you feel you want to have a more comfortable experience, I recommend you switch one to Equilibrium or even 2. But then you'll struggle with upfront damage against acolytes and tanky targets that need a lot of upfront damage. So, you know, it's a trade-off. And we have a maximum energy on spawn, which is very important because you want to have energy for your setup, which is using the shield at the beginning of the mission, and having energy for Blazing Chakram, which has a force proc of energy with Equilibrium. You have a force proc of health drop, which then converts to energy, and it has a chance of energy orb as well, 35%. Now, why the Dark Sword over the Coda Mire? Well, it's strictly because of this Riven. Otherwise, the Coda Mire is better, and I'll show you in a second. We'll have the test config with nothing on it, I'm gonna spawn some enemies. And we're gonna slam only this one. As you can see, you get 400k compared to the 200k on Dark Sword. So if you don't have a Riven, the Coda Mire is better by far. The interaction is the same. Forced impact on slam attack, forced toxin on slam attack with melee afflictions. The last point I want to talk about is the weakness of this build. This build is very susceptible to failure if you have overguarded enemies or enemies with a lot of HP that need a lot of upfront damage to be killed, such as acolytes. As you can see, overguarded enemies do not receive divine spears, so you just have to slam them. In this case, we have a min-max build which can kill them instantly, but what do you do against, for example, the AFV tank from Holvania? You can slam him over and over, but it's not gonna be as effective as if you used a Magistar, for example. So I just wanted to make this comparison because people would ask which is better, and the answer is Magistar is better for acolytes and for targets that need as much raw damage as possible in an instance, while the Dark Sword is better for damage attenuated targets such as Tau targets or Necromax or Scaldra Dissecants and all that stuff. So I'll just show you the damage difference in the number. Magus Aggress, let's tag the Arcane. And as you can see, it's ridiculous damage. So yeah, that's the comparison. There is a frame in the game that might make the Magistar work like the Dark Sword in terms of damage instances, and that's Zephyr. But that's a topic for another video, so now let's see some interesting gameplay footage.
Hands are tied until you
No breath, no heartbeat, just static remains. Hollow reflections, ghosts in the code. So come burn down my escape. I wanna feel it, 'cause let me